If you look at discouragement, there are four effects that I was able to draw out of this particular passage of Scripture of 2 Samuel chapter 19, going through the first 14 verses. There's four effects of discouragement that can have upon us as individuals and as a group of people. The first one is it will dishearten or demoralize a person. Number one, it will dishearten or demoralize a person. And the picture that is painted in Scriptures 1 to 4, the picture that is painted for us, it shows the troops. They're disheartened, who hung their heads low upon the return of a great victory, ashamed to almost show their faces. It says in the Scripture says right here, they crept back into the town. They crept back into town. It's like they hung their heads low for something they had done or something they done great. Well, number one, the first effect of discouragement, it will dishearten a person or demoralize them. Number two, perspective will be lost. Perspective will be lost. Now, Joab, he is the commander of King David's army, and he was a brave man, and I'll tell you why he was a brave man, because he went into the king. He went into the house of the king to put a little perspective into what had just taken place. We read this in verse 5. I want you to read with me in verse 5. It says, Then Joab went to the king's room and said to him, We have saved your life today and the lives of your sons and your daughters and your wives. I mean, think about that. He's trying to bring perspective to the king. We just saved your wives, your all of the people that are in your inner family there. We saved them all. Because Absalom, what he was doing, he was developing a big army. And King David's army saved his life today in his kingdom. And it goes on to say, we saved your wives and your concubines. You act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves. Verse 6, you seem to love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You've made it clear today that your commanders and troops mean nothing to you. It seems that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died, you would be pleased. Now, you see, the Scripture points out that we can get so locked into those who hate us that we can easily take it out upon the people that we do love. And so when we look at this passage of Scripture from verses 1 to 6, what the commander Joab was trying to do is he was trying to spurn the king into action. Sometimes we need to be spurned into action. And so if you keep this particular example in perspective of verses 1 to 4 and what Joab had just done into the perspective of our lives and what we face on a daily basis, the defeat from our circumstances and situations, then it become real easy for us to take it out upon the ones that we love. Come on. If I ask you a question, have you ever taken something out upon your brother, your sister, your spouse, or your children because of something you went through, some defeat or some circumstances that you've been facing that's rough, and you came home and you took it out on them? I think we're probably all guilty of that, aren't we? I mean, even if you let the economic times defeat your thinking, and it disheartens you at times, it can be real easy to fall into the trap that you're going to take it out on somebody that you love or somebody that's close to you. We can be so ruled by the people or the enemy that's against us. Number 3, people feel devalued. The third effect of discouragement is people can feel devalued. 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 6, the Scripture says, the troops hung their heads low. The troops hung their heads low. And it says, in the Scriptures, it says the commanders meant nothing to the king because of the absence of encouragement. The commanders and the troops meant nothing because of the absence of encouragement. There were thousands of people that lost their lives today that didn't get to go home. See, King David wasn't thinking about that. Number 4, hidden feelings will surface because of being disheartened. Number 4, hidden feelings will surface because of being disheartened. When you help someone win a great victory and then they devalue you, do you think that's going to make you feel very well? I probably no one in the room this morning would feel that way. It's going to make me feel good when somebody devalues you. So you've got these demoralized people. Their perspective is lost. The king was forgetting who his enemies were and the ones who loved him. And this is how the commanders and the troops felt. They meant nothing to the king, and then the people started arguing. Then it sort of breaks the unity that's in David's kingdom. And then the king started to mourn over his son rather than encourage the people. This news spread to the people. That's what happened. It spread to the people. And so what happened, there's a little dissension going on, and man, you know what? I'm not sure that I want to be here. 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 7. Now go out there and congratulate your troops. This is David's commander, and what he's doing is he has gone to the house of King David. Joab is there talking to him, and he's trying to spur him into action, as I mentioned. And so what he's saying is, go out there and congratulate your troops, for I swear by the Lord that if you don't go out there, not a single of them will remain here till tonight. Then you will be worse off than ever before. And so what Joab was trying to do, he was trying to talk to King David and say, look, if you don't go out there and encourage these people, no longer will they submit to your leadership anymore. And by nightfall, every one of them will be gone. If you won't encourage your troops and the people that have stood with you and supported you and been by your side and fought with you in the battle, then the people will all be gone by nightfall. That's what Joab was telling King David. And so you will rise and the sun will be looking for your people and the troops, and they will not be there. It's an urgent matter. You must go out there and encourage your people. Joab was just really trying to push this point and make it strong. You got to go out there and encourage their people. It actually says in verse 7, you will be worse than ever before. Now think about this. All of the trials, challenges, and things that David went through when he was being chased by King Saul, hiding in caves, feeling low and destitute like his life would never go on. All of those things that he went through up until this time in his life, those will bow in comparison. That's what Joab was telling King David. And, thinking about it reminds me of our church. This church is here so that we can encourage you. I think probably most of us live in a Christian home currently. I'm thankful to God I grew up in a Christian home, and I provide a Christian home for my children and my wife. And that gives you the opportunity to be encouraged. When you walk through the doors of this church, when you go into your home, you get to be encouraged. That's a good feeling, isn't it? I don't know about you guys, but that's the kind of culture that I want to be around. And if you come to this church and if you get plugged in, you're going to find yourself getting encouraged.